Hey, good morning to you. It is 6 minutes, make it 7 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. You're listening to the Chris Hand Show, but I am decidedly not Chris Hand. I'm your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson, filling in for today, and as far as I know, today only. Chris will be back tomorrow. Good to be with you. Again, my luck continues. It seems like every time I get an opportunity to be on the air, we have plenty to talk about. And that would be the case today. A lot to go through with regard to this shocking development. I guess we started to hear about this Friday evening, and it sort of percolated throughout the entire weekend. And it is a huge thing. There may well be a prosecution of Barack Obama and other administration officials from the Obama era about Russia. I mean, we learned all this because the intelligence community, under the tutelage and guidance of Tulsi Gabbard, has released a bunch of documents that tend to suggest that there was some stuff going on there back in the day that was perhaps criminal. Now let's back up because I want to make sure you have a good foundational understanding of everything that Tulsi Gabbard has done and is doing. And so what I have done here is I'm not kidding, about 4 minutes of sound from Tulsi Gabbard. Let me just say, she made an appearance on Maria Bartiromo's weekend program on Fox, which for me, as I find Maria Bartiromo just a little irritating. A lot of people don't like the timbre of her voice. It doesn't bother me, but I understand it does bother a lot of people, so they don't watch her. It's become a show that you can't miss because the really important stuff over the weekend, she's got the rock star guest, and she had Tulsi Gabbard. And here is a little bit of all that. I'm going to try to go through this 4 minutes. I'll stop and start and try to explain a little of the background and why it's important. Tulsi Gabbard on Maria Bartiromo's show this weekend.
And in the months leading up to the November 2016 election, the intelligence community agreed that there was no intelligence that reflected that Russia was trying to hack the election in favor of either candidate. The evidence showed, the intelligence showed that, again, Russia did not have either the intent nor the capability to be able to impact the outcome of the United States election.
Well, let's stop there for a moment. I mean, first of all, they knew. They knew that Russia was a bunch of BS. It was. That's what it was. They knew it. And yet, they were getting ready to put out this declaration that, there's no there. Intelligence community had done its job. They were asked, was there Russian involvement in the 2016 election? And their sense of it was that there was not. So you got that going on. And then, the question is, well, what happened next?
So it was very striking when we look back again at the documents that I declassified and released that shows there was a shift in early December, the first week of December. Again, another document was produced by the intelligence community, a president's daily brief that was consistent with every other assessment that was done previously leading up to the election.
Oh, now hold on a minute. Now they're sending it to the president at the time, and they got it in the daily brief. Now the intelligence community sends to the president every day a document. Sometimes it's a personal brief, or sometimes it's a document. One way or the other, he does a national security briefing supposedly every day. It's one of the first things you do. You come in and you read the president's daily brief, highly classified. Eyes only, and many times for Barack Obama. And so they were getting ready to send this assessment over to his daily brief, right? They're saying, okay, we're going to put this information in his daily brief, but then something sordid happened. That never occurred.
Russia did not, this is after the election now, did not attempt to affect the outcome of the American election. That was never published. Hours before it would have gone into President Obama's President's Daily Brief, it was pulled
It was pulled. How about that?
by a senior level intelligence official saying that they had to pull it because they had received new guidance.
New guidance. New guidance. That's a very vague term. What does that mean? Where did the guidance come from?
The very next day, this meeting was called, a National Security Council meeting, bringing together all of the senior leaders of President Obama's cabinet, and the topic that was put forward was a sensitive matter. The tasks that came out of that meeting was coming from President Obama directing the intelligence community, then Obama's ODNI director Clapper, to produce a document, to produce an intelligence assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow affected the outcome of the election that had already occurred, electing Donald Trump to the presidency.
So get this now. So the intelligence community on its own has done its assessment and has come up with the information that indeed Russia was not colluding at all with Donald Trump. There was no Russia. It was, we know where that came from. It came from the Hillary Clinton campaign. But now, as soon as this information is about to make its way to the Daily Brief, somebody in the intelligence community, a senior ranking person, yanks it and says, well, we have new guidance. And then all of a sudden, there's a high-level meeting at the White House of all the national security people on the Obama team to go over this. And what happens is they don't accept the information. What they do is they issue out a new directive that you're to go out there and find it. Something that they knew didn't exist. Go out there and make sure you find it. In other words, they wanted it to stay alive for political purposes, even though the intelligence community, and by the way, the FBI too, knew that there was nothing to the Russian collusion. I mean, that's treasonous, isn't it?
This document that they published in January of 2017 was the foundational groundwork that they continued to reference over and over and over again to enact this years-long coup against President Trump.
That's why they raided Mar-a-Lago, that they wanted to find the Trump-Russia documents that indicated there was absolutely no collusion and that there was no evidence to even start such an investigation. But Trump didn't have it there in Mar-a-Lago, but that's why they raided his house in 2022. Is that correct?
I don't have the details on the specifics of the Mar-a-Lago raid itself. Those are within the possession of the FBI. But there's no question in my mind that this intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered be published, which contained a manufactured intelligence document. It's worse than even politicization of intelligence. It was manufactured intelligence that sought to achieve President Obama and his team's objective, which was undermining President Trump's presidency and subverting the will of the American people. So yes, next week we will be releasing more detailed information about how exactly this took place and the extent to which this information was sought to be hidden from the American people, hidden from officials who would be in a position to do something. Accountability is essential.
You know, so what the intelligence community did when they had that meeting, they sent it back to the intelligence community and they cooked up a bunch of stuff that was nonsense just to keep it alive. Just so that, they could continue to harass Donald Trump as he entered office. Pretty amazing.
For the future of our country, for the American people to have any sense of trust in the integrity of our democratic republic, accountability, action, prosecution, indictments for those who are responsible for trying to steal our democracy is essential for us to make sure that this never happens to our country again. We are referring all of the documents that we have uncovered to the Department of Justice and the FBI for a criminal referral.
So who does that mean? Well, it looks like it would be everybody that was in that meeting potentially would be, they knew. They went and understand that the President Obama calls a meeting and he brings in all his national security advisors and he's talking about, what's going to happen here and what's going to happen there and we can't let this thing die. We hate Donald Trump so much that we have to cook some faulty intelligence to keep it alive just so we can keep to harass him. It went for years. But yet they knew, even before Donald Trump was sworn into office, they knew that whole Russian collusion thing was not real. And yet they kept it going for 2 long years.
I will do all that I can, and we have whistleblowers actually coming forward now after we release these documents, because there are people who were around, who were working within the intelligence community at this time, who were so disgusted by what happened. We're starting to see some of them come out of the woodwork here because they too, like you and I and the American people, want to see justice delivered.
You know why that's happening? Well, when you declassify a document, you've got all these people out there who knew this and had things that say that were very important to that investigation, but they're sworn to secrecy. Why? Well, because it's a classified document. We can't do it. But when you declassify the document, all of a sudden people are free to come out and say, yep, you're absolutely right about that. And by the way, did you know? So that's why people are now coming out of the woodwork, because they have released the information, declassified it, and now people in the intelligence community can talk about it, and they can be whistleblowers and bring forward that information without any fear of being prosecuted for revealing classified information.
So we're going to provide everything that we have, everything that we will continue to gather to the Department of Justice for that direct intent and that direct purpose. There must be indictments. Those responsible, no matter how powerful they are and were at that time, no matter who was involved in creating this treasonous conspiracy against the American people, they all must be held accountable. I'm not a lawyer. In my view, we have the evidence to be able to move forward and bring about justice, yes, to prosecute and indict those responsible.
So, man, that, they have I don't know what you call it, a bombshell. That's sort of a bombshell, thing. And this story has that other thing that I like in a good scandal story. It has legs. In other words, there's a drip, drip, drip to it every day. There's a different drip that comes down, and it adds to the story, and that's all happening. I will say this, just as a side note. It also serves the Trump administration by releasing these documents in one really significant way. Everybody's on him about Epstein, the Epstein documents, what's going to happen there. But if you can come up with another story that takes that off the burner and focuses attention, then it serves the Trump administration well. Now, I don't think there's anything to Epstein. We'll get into Epstein again here a little bit later in the program. I have some thoughts that I'd like to share with you. I don't think people have gotten it quite right. But the bottom line is that you have here a world-class scandal, if indeed the documents back up what we seem to see, and so far the stuff that we've seen is there, and more people coming out of the woodworks every day. This could turn into a huge thing that could potentially, and I say potentially because I don't know, how good the evidence is, but it could well, end up some kind of charges being brought against key intelligence officials of the Obama administration, and the people who were in charge. Who was in charge? Barack Obama. No drama Obama, remember? He bragged about how there was no drama in his, well, because, they were playing pretty dirty underneath, behind the scenes as they were leaving to try to harass Donald Trump as best they could with the deep state. Wow, this story, keep an eye on it. 20 minutes now past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
We have breaking news regarding Kilmar Abrego Garcia and a decision on his freedom before his trial. Also, what a pilot did on Saturday that took everyone on board his plane by surprise. We've got those stories coming up here at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
What are they passed out good pretzels, I hope. That's what it was.
That's all they give anymore, those
You don't
tiny
get
little
good
packets.
You don't get any good snacks on a plane anymore.
No.
Why is that? I mean, that was, we used to get good little, those honey-coated peanuts.
Yeah.
Those were
Ooh, they
great.
were good.
Yeah, and then they said, well, too many people allergic to peanuts, so they stopped that mess.
Remember back in the day when they would actually feed you a whole meal?
Yeah. I mean, and Southwest, used to be the place where I would go. They had a great system. I knew how to work the system. I knew how to get a good seat.
Yeah.
And now they changed all that.
Yep.
That's Joan Jones, by the way, in the newsroom. She'll be along here in just a few more minutes with a complete newscast at the bottom and the top of the hour. Mason Fleming is in the studio pushing all the blinky buttons, and I am Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand. The economy looking pretty good. Here's a story from the Wall Street Journal. I know we don't like the Wall Street Journal right now, but it's still a pretty interesting story. When President Trump slapped tariffs on nations across the globe this spring, many economists feared higher prices and spending cuts would flatten the economy. Remember all the predictions. It's going to be horrible. We're going to go into a recession. Well, that didn't happen. Businesses and consumers, they write, are regaining their swagger, and evidence is mounting that those who held back are starting to splurge again. University, they had record highs in the stock market. Let's look at that where we are today. NASDAQ has hit a record high today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 172, S&P up 37, NASDAQ up 169. All screens are in the green. And by the way, part of the reason why we haven't had any recession is that the cost of oil is down. And when the price of oil is down, the price of fuel, gasoline, diesel is down. Right now, a barrel of West Texas Intermediate crude will cost you $66. $66. Brent crude 68. That's a pretty good deal. So as long as you can keep your gasoline prices down, then inflation stays in check while you're making all of these changes with regard to the tariffs. And with regard to the tariffs, in a moment, after the news, I'm going to play a soundbite from you from Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick about where the tariffs are and some of the things that are likely to happen, they believe, in the next week or two before we hit the deadline in August. That's coming up in just a moment. Right now at 9:30, get ready for some Joan Jones and the news.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Well, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is staying put in a jail for now. His lawyers and the DOJ came to an agreement this morning on a plan that keeps him in jail while he awaits his human smuggling trial. But it also delays the government's plans to remove him to a third country, a significant concession from the Trump administration, which had threatened to immediately deport him if Abrego Garcia was released prior to his trial. Now a Maryland judge will have an opportunity to issue an order that blocks ICE from taking action. We're going to stay on top of this story. A fast-thinking pilot performing an aggressive maneuver to avoid colliding with a U.S. Air Force B-52 bomber over North Dakota on Saturday night. This shocked passengers. It also led the pilot to apologize to them.
Sorry about the aggressive maneuver. It caught me by surprise. This is not normal at all. Long story short.
He says it's not normal at all. That SkyWest Airlines pilot said that he had no prior warning of military air traffic in the area. Well, as we start another week of temperatures in the mid to upper 90s, a reminder to always check the back seat for kids or pets before leaving the vehicle. Now you can also pick up a free placard to hang from your rear view mirror that reminds drivers to check that back seat. Now, check with your health or police department for one of these free placards. That is the latest news. We've got weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 36 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand. He'll be back tomorrow. Chad Benson coming up in the noon hour, so you want to hang around for all that. In the newsroom is Joan Jones. Joan.
Yes, sir.
We haven't caught up in a while. How you doing? Everything going well?
Everything's going well. I got my voice back after having lost it last week. Due to a horrible cold.
There is nothing worse than trying to struggle through, a radio shift when you really have a ragged voice or losing your voice.
Yeah,
it's the worst, and you just want to be there, but then you wonder, well, is my voice it sounds so bad that it just will irritate people? That's the thing you always
right. And am I going to damage it by trying to push so hard?
And you can.
Yes, you can.
You really can. Well, anyway, we had big doings yesterday here in Watertown. I don't know if you heard about this.
No, I did not hear.
Well, let me tell you, so since I came to Watertown, I guess we've been there 3 years now. It's hard to believe, but we've been going to this church, and it's called Round Lick Baptist Church, right?
Okay.
And I've become friends with the pastor, a guy by the name Rick Burns, and so been going and going and going, and it occurred to us, you know what? We never have really joined this church. Which, if you're going to go, then be a member,
right? That's right. That's right.
So, well, I was raised Baptist. I was baptized when I was about 16 years old.
Okay.
Dawn was raised more in the Methodist tradition.
Oh, so was I.
And she was sprinkled. She wasn't immersed.
Okay.
And so to join the Baptist church, the word came back, well, yeah, but you'll need to do the baptism, the full immersion baptism, right? Mm-hmm. And so, the deal was, the way I understood it was going to happen was, they said, well, at the invitation time, you come down with Dawn and present yourself before the church, and we officially sanction you as a member of the church, and it will be dependent upon Dawn getting her baptism, but I'm already in because I've been baptized, so. We're in church. I'm sitting in the pew with Dawn.
Yeah.
And we sing the first couple of hymns. Everything's good. And then Dawn sort of whispers to me, I got to go to the bathroom. And so I said, okay. I mean, this has never happened in church before, but I assume
water.
I guess she had to go.
Yeah.
The next thing I know, the pastor has gone into the baptism and has announced that we have a baptism that's going to take. Now, I thought this was going to happen way down the line. I didn't think it was going to happen yesterday. So I'm just sitting there watching and seeing, and, oh, good, well, there's a baptism. How wonderful is that? And everybody's excited. And then they call Dawn down.
Oh, man.
I had no idea that she was going to get baptized yesterday, but she did. This woman continues to completely keep me off my toes.
Yes.
But she did get baptized yesterday at the Baptist church. So
congratulations, Dawn. That's awesome.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
It is.
Cool? It was a very sweet moment. I was actually they allowed me to come up and to witness it up close and personal at the front of the church. And what a wonderful day! A big surprise as my wife continues to throw curveballs at me.
Yeah. Got to keep you on your toes, Brian.
I mean, her best friend is here visiting. I didn't know, I didn't know it was connected to that, but apparently she knew. My sister knew. The pastor knew.
You were the only one in the dark?
The only person who was left in the dark about all this for some reason was me. So anyway, but it was a lovely day yesterday.
That's awesome. I love it.
Quite an emotional and exciting day.
Yes.
It really was.
Yes.
So, you know what? We've got these tariffs, right? And everybody's thinking that the tariffs are going to cause a problem. But you know what? I think they're not going to cause a problem. And I think, we're going to get a lot of good trade deals. And, somebody else who believes that? The Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick.
Oh, they're going to love the deals that President Trump and I are doing. I mean, they're just going to love them. The president figured out the right answer and sent letters to these countries, said this is going to fix the trade deficit. This will go a long way to fixing the trade deficit. And that's gotten these countries to the table. And they're going to open their markets or they're going to pay the tariff. And if they open their markets, the opportunity for Americans to export, to grow their business, farmers, ranchers, fishermen, fishermen. This is going to be, the next 2 weeks are going to be weeks for the record books. President Trump is going to deliver for the American people.
Yep, he is. And so far, everybody was really worried about tariffs and recession and inflation and all of that, and none of that has emerged. Now, we're not through it, but I really do believe that Trump, got it right. And a lot of other economists and a lot of people in Washington got it wrong. It's very exciting to see all the things that are happening with regard to the economy and these tariffs. And so, look, I think we're going to see, I think a lot of the concern was well overblown. And it's exciting to see this economy, which I think if you listen to me when I was talking about what needs to happen once Trump takes office, was basically get out of the way of the free enterprise system and let it do the thing that it does. Really, honestly, our founding fathers set up a tremendously brilliant system. And it will work. And people can find prosperity and they can find success in an economy that's working for everyone. And all you have to do, really, honestly, is just get out of the way and let the economy do what it needs to do. Deregulate when you can, to make sure that we have a level playing field for our trade deals, and that's happening now in a much bigger way. And you know what? It's just coming together in a completely brilliant way. As we continue to look at all of this stuff. So, very exciting time. The economy is the thing that many people will form their opinion about the Trump administration. And yes, they were worried for a while because everybody was talking about tariffs and how it was going to cost you more, and people don't like change, and we're changing things, and we're not doing it the way we've always done it. Trump had a different idea. But I think Trump is doing some brilliant things to sort of bring the economy full circle and to basically get out of the way of the free enterprise system so it can. And all we really need, the cherry on the sundae, the whipped cream and the sprinkles, would just be if the Fed would lower interest rates. It's the one thing that's out there, and there's no good reason why the Fed shouldn't go ahead and lower interest rates. If they would just get busy on that, then everything would fall completely into place, and the tax cuts are going to supercharge. There's just so much good on the horizon with the regards to the economy and how it's going to impact not just the wealthy, but everyone in America. It just seems like the entire thing is being set right again after being completely destroyed by the Biden administration. And it's exciting to watch what is a brilliant economic system, the strongest in the world. It's always been one of the strongest markets in the world, and it still is. And we can compete, and we can do well, and people can prosper. And that's what will determine the midterm elections. You can say what you will, but that old saying about it's the economy stupid, that James Carville statement about it's the economy stupid, he was right. It's always about the economy when it comes to elections. People will vote their pocketbooks. And so when you see this good economic news and you see these trade deals that you'll never get a trade. Well, that's fine. That's okay. We don't need a trade deal. We'll just hit a big tariff if you don't want to have a trade deal. But these trade deals are coming together. And watch it as we get, there's a sort of a self-imposed deadline. You got to do this by August 1 into July. You got to get this done. It's, the 21st of July. Here we go. So, the next couple of weeks are going to be really interesting to watch with regard to the trade deals. And each and every time you get a trade deal, you are making the economy, in my estimation, a lot stronger. Fun to watch. It certainly is. I want to give, Joan, if you're still there, I want to give a special warning to CEOs in the Nashville area and HR directors.
Okay.
Coldplay's playing in Nashville tomorrow. So if you're going,
Yeah. Be aware of the kiss cam. Was that the craziest story or
you know,
what?
I don't know why that thing took on such a life of its own. I mean,
It
it really
really
did. It blew
did.
up. I mean, it's everybody's got memes now, and
Yeah.
and you know, and look, I don't find a lot of joy in the tragedy
No.
that is in this story, but I mean, it's like, what were you thinking?
It's crazy, honestly. And we were saying this earlier on the show that if they just did nothing, if they just kept on swaying, made like everything was fine.
Nobody would have
Nobody
noticed, but
would
it
have
was
thought
their
about it.
reaction. It was like
Right.
an abject horror. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
And then to come to find out that I forget what I don't know that much about Coldplay. It's not one of my favorite
Yeah.
bands. I don't follow them. I don't know all of the players in the band, but apparently somebody beforehand simply said, "Hey, by the way, we're getting ready to turn on the kiss cam."
Well,
So if you're if you're with somebody that you're not supposed to be with, here's your. They gave them a warning,
yeah.
and
Oh,
they
man.
apparently did not heed the warning.
Yeah.
I mean, the look on their faces. Oh,
Well,
my
and also, I mean, could it be a worse pair up than the CEO and the HR, the head of the HR? I mean, honestly, the bad decisions there were like multiplied by 1,000.
Yeah. It's just like, what in the world were you thinking? And
Yeah.
I have not yet figured out, Joe, maybe you can help me. There's a lot of focus on the woman to the left.
Right, because she was putting her hand up like she couldn't see. So I'm thinking she was a friend of the woman.
But she was laughing her butt off.
Yeah.
Like she thought it was really funny.
That was a little crazy. I haven't figured that out
I don't know that
either.
one. That one's I'm a little confused. Everybody seems to be really focused on her, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Coldplay in Nashville after couple's awkward moment. This from the Tennessean. And they're just telling you, apparently, they will do the Jumbotron here at the show here is what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But you're going to get, I think everybody has been sufficiently warned.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but look, honestly, you go out there and you do something that stupid, and then you decide that you're going to be out in public. You get what you get, as far as the way that goes.
Yeah. And the CEO's letter that explained, he apologized, but at the end he blamed Coldplay. For turning the kiss cam on him and violating his rights or something. I thought, wow, this guy's crazy. He's crazy.
And most of the permission to videotape people in the audience is included in your ticket.
Yes.
It's in the language of
Yes.
when you buy your ticket.
Read the small print, people.
Yeah. It really is, yeah. Well, anyway, that whole thing is going to be something. I don't know. I mean, it seems like, I don't know. I don't think we've hit our peak on that yet, because every time I open up my Facebook or my social media, I see are meme after meme after meme.
The ones I like the most, the Savannah Bananas had theirs.
I did not see them, but I love the Savannah Bananas.
I know, they were great. They had two rather large men hugging each other in such a way. And the Philly Fanatic and the Mrs. Philly Fanatic had theirs too. Just kind of fun.
Everybody got in on that one, but it is at the core of all this is a family tragedy. And,
It is, yes.
and a company now in chaos. By the
Yes.
way, people who invested in that company are now wondering what's going to happen, and it's just nuts. But all CEOs and HR directors within the sound of my voice, I just want you to know, Coldplay will be in Nashville tomorrow.
And don't be dumb. Don't be dumb.
As my old pastor, when I was growing up at the church that I grew up in Texas, used to say from time to time, a word to the wise should be sufficient.
Yes.
All right. 50 minutes now past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk.
We have breaking news about the Tennessee Titans lineup for the upcoming season. Also, people who come to the U.S. will have to pay a new fee thanks to the big, beautiful bill. We've got those stories coming up here at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Joan Jones with the news in just a few moments. I'm Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand. Mason Fleming is pushing all the blinky buttons today. Glad that you're with us on this Monday, the 21st day of July. How exciting it is to be with you. I've read this interesting story, and I just think, every once in a while you just come across, that's valuable information that can really help people where they live. And if what does everybody want? They want a level of success in their lives and in their chosen profession and career. And there's a couple of ways that you can go about it. One is you can go in there and aggressively go after the things, chasing status through, having money and the pursuit of wealth. And, that's one way to do it. But according to this article that I read in the Epoch Times, maybe the better way to go about it, if you want to have great success in your life, is to be likable. I mean, when you think about it, likable people do well. I mean, I wouldn't know because I'm wholly unlikable, but I mean, most likable people do really well.
Hey, that's not true. You're likable.
No, I try to be as likable as I can, but people who know me know I have an edge. It's been well documented. Trust me on that. But I mean, being likable, and so this article goes in and gives you a list of things that you can do to become more likable and therefore potentially more successful. Love that. Number one. According to this article, take a genuine interest in people. There is something a little weird, extreme, or unique to be discovered about everyone if you dig deep enough. Most have an interesting story to share about how they got where they are. Some have a surprising passion that you'd never guess from the outside. Make it your mission to uncover these gold nuggets and you'll never be bored by anyone again. Number two, add energy to the room. Most people blend in, matching the room's energy and waiting for others to make something happen. It doesn't take all that much effort to be a leader in this area. Learn to rally the troops, liven up the room, break the ice, and you'll become a valuable friend. Number three, ditch your phone and your self-importance. Many of us have developed a bad habit of turning our phones every time we're bored. We become easily distractible and hyper-focused on our own interests, which naturally spills into our conversations. Anyone who focuses on others rather than their phones and self-importance is seen as a charismatic in this crazy world we live in. Put yourself in the shoes of others. Number four. Think about, how they look at things. That's called empathy. It's a good thing. Number five, be reliable and present. People in the world are great around having people in the world are great to have around for a good time, but you wouldn't call them up when things get hard and when you really need help. So genuine likability goes deeper than the surface. Number six, and the final one, put others at ease. People want to spend our time with are those who draw us out in ways that others can't because we feel comfortable and safe in their presence. Be likable. Not pushy. Hey, you know what time it is? It's time for the news at the top of the hour with Joan Jones.
Well, hello there. It is 10 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We are just learning that the Tennessee Titans quarterback Will Levis has decided to undergo surgery on his right shoulder, and he'll be out for the 2025 season. That surgery is scheduled for July 29th. Meantime, Cameron Ward, the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 draft, will step up. He will be backed up by Brandon Allen. Other news of the day, construction on the new Tennessee Titans stadium is on pause while police investigate a noose that was reportedly found there on Friday. Now a $250,000 reward is being offered for information about who left it there. Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell
Obviously, this is an environment where we want to try as hard as we can to prevent scenarios that might be fear or hate-based. We've taken some steps, both with local policy, state policy, in partnership with them to try, again, to keep temperatures low and prevent hate incidents like this.
The Tennessee Builders Alliance is also requiring additional anti-bias training for all of its employees. In Texas, the state legislature is planning a special meeting for today. Governor Greg Abbott will address flood warning systems, communications, and infrastructure with lawmakers. This comes after a surprise assessment from rescuers searching for those who are still missing after the devastating floods there.
The number of missing people has dropped dramatically, and what we're expecting to hear from that special session is critical because from hard-hit county of Kerr County, that is where the number of people believed to be missing has dropped from nearly 100 to 3. That's a major difference. Overall in Texas, 7 people are still reported missing from these historic floods, and at least 135 people, including those children, have died from this 4th of July weekend tragedy.
That's ABC's Melissa Aden reporting. Police in San Jose, California, confirming the arrest of the brother of late NFL star and U.S. Army Ranger Pat Tillman.
44-year-old Richard Tillman, the younger brother of Pat Tillman, is in the Santa Clara County Jail accused of arson. Federal investigators believe he drove, maybe intentionally, his car into a post office in San Jose. The post office became engulfed in flames. Investigators believe he may have been live streaming the incident that happened at around 3 a.m. on Sunday. There were also some words spray painted on the outside of the post office building that investigators are working to understand. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Visitors to the U.S. will soon need to pay a visa integrity fee, thanks to a provision in the Big Beautiful Bill. It's a $250 fee that applies to tourists, business travelers, and international students, and this fee cannot be waived. That is the latest news. Weather is up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 10:05, 10:06 rather, on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair. I am your friend and radio buddy in for Chris Hand today. He'll be back tomorrow. It is the 21st day of July. It is Monday, and it's going to be hot. So just, get it all. It has been so brutally hot, but that's okay. And rain. What's up with all this rain? It keeps coming and coming and coming. I'm so done with the rain.
Yeah, every time I think it's about to clear up, I'm like, oh, well, more clouds in the sky.
Here comes another. We had a little music festival here in Watertown this weekend. We got really lucky in that I was watching the radar. And, it looked like it was going to rain. It's going to rain. And it went just around us.
That's nice.
We just dodged it. It
so
was
nice.
You know who played, by the way?
Who played?
The Austin Brothers we had a group called Lonesome Gold, they're kind of a blues group. We had the Austin Brothers, and then we had a group called Kenny and the Roosters.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but the Austin Brothers, it's basically Jack Johnson, Senator Jack Johnson's band. And some of these guys he's been playing with since he was a student in college.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And let me tell you something. The majority leader of the Senate can pick that guitar. I mean, he was playing some pretty good stuff there.
Is he an electric or an acoustic player?
He had a Fender Telecaster.
Ooh.
And it had a great sound to it, and he was good, and the whole band, everybody was very good. Good time had by all. Things happen. Things happen in Watertown. Just saying.
It's pretty cool.
It's bucolic. Did I mention that? Let's talk about what's going on in your swamp. Back when I had a show, I used to play the swamp music. So why not? It's like, because I still have the button. A lot of stuff going on in your swamp. Trump has called on the Senate to cancel its August recesses and long weekends until he gets some of his judicial nominees confirmed. He held a dinner for GOP senators at the White House on Friday, congratulated them on the big, beautiful bill and other legislation in the first 6 months of his presidency. President Donald Trump then called upon Senate Majority Leader John Thune to cancel the chamber's traditional August recess as well as long weekends to get his nominees confirmed. So there you have that. Interesting. NPR is going to be defunded, and not a moment too soon. I mean, why in the world did our government ever get in the job of supporting broadcasting? There's nothing in the world. If NPR is all that valuable, it could go out there and find itself its own cable channel and provide that kind of programming for those who are interested. And I'm sure there'd be a small audience for it, but they ought to earn their living the same way that the rest of us in broadcasting are, by doing ads. I'm sorry, I know people get irritated with ads, but that's, you don't pay anything for this wonderful radio station that you have on your radio. It's free. Doesn't cost you a penny to have, Dan Madison in the morning and Chris Hand and Chad Benson and Matt Murphy and all those guys. It doesn't cost you a penny, but the way we make our bills and the way we pay for the electricity and all this amazing talent that you have in the newsroom and in our studio is to do ads. And they ought to do the same thing. They say, well, we only get about 1% of our money from the federal government. Well, if that's true, and I don't think it is, but if it's true, then raise that 1% on your own. You don't need that 1% from the federal government. The government ought not be in the business of supporting broadcasting that has an unfair advantage in the marketplace. Just one of the things I feel. And look, I mean, NPR gotten so left. NPR, by the way, here's the story from Fox News. NPR whistleblower says an embrace of fringe progressivism led to defunding. NPR whistleblower that exposed the news outlet for liberal bias last year says its embrace of fringe progressivism was the reason for the defunding that became official this week. It's a self-inflicted wound, a product of how NPR embraced a fringe progressivism that cost it any legitimate claim to stand as an impartial provider of news, much less one deserving of government support, said Uri Berliner in an op-ed that was put out there last Thursday. He resigned from NPR last April, and he was suspended for not getting approval to do other work for other outlets outside of NPR. Then he wrote a bombshell piece that lambasted his former employer's coverage of contentious topics like Russiagate, Hunter Biden laptop, and the COVID lab leak theory. And they look at you, and, you say, the people, well, PBS and NPR, oh, no, we're up the middle. We don't. It's not up the middle. I'm so glad this has come to fruition. I'm absolutely, look, get you a cable channel. Put some commercials in there. See if you can make it in the real world. Come on out here and try it in the real world, NPR. See if you got it, huh? We'll see how long you last. I don't think they'll last very long at all. Another Biden aide has invoked the Fifth Amendment in a deposition before a House panel. Annie Tomasini, on Friday, according to ABC News, became the third Biden administration official to plead the Fifth Amendment in a House panel investigation into former President Joe Biden's mental fitness and the use of a presidential auto pen while in office. She was called upon to appear before the Republican-led House Oversight Committee, and she pleaded the Fifth. A lot of people say pleaded the Fifth. Yeah, she just came in and did what everybody else has done. Nobody wants to answer any questions. You know what? Look, I believe every human in America, every person, every citizen of America, let's put it that way, has the right to invoke the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. It is a right that you have, and it's a right that these people have. You don't have to testify against your own self-interest. That's just part of the American way. But it certainly raises some eyebrows when everybody who goes in there says, well, I'm under advice of counsel. I'm not going to answer that question and rely upon my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution. It makes you wonder what they're all hiding. Again, they have the right to do it, but the question is, when you plead the Fifth, are you hiding something? I mean, if you got nothing to hide, then come on out and talk, right? Earlier in the week, Anthony Bernal, who served as assistant to the president and chief of staff of the First Lady Biden administration, also invoked the Fifth. So I think that, when Trump says this is a scandal of immense proportion, I think he's right. It's a very fair question. Who was in charge of the Biden administration if it wasn't Biden? And who was making these decisions and signing, these get out of jail free cards? Who was signing them? Was it the auto pen under somebody else's direction, or was it truly under the direction of the president? This one, again, has that sort of, quality to it where I'm pretty sure it's not going to go away. Every day, there's a new drip. Wow, that was a very loud drip. That was, yep, there we go. Every day, a new drip. This is interesting. 2026 Senate map. How's it looking? I think this is a very good assessment of it because, people want to know, can we hold on to the Senate? Can we hold on to the House? Republicans are encountering early headaches in Senate races viewed as pivotal to maintaining the party's majority in next year's midterm election. Democrats, however, in the Senate still face an uphill battle. They need to net 4 seats to retake the majority, and most of the 2026 contests are in states that Republicans and President Donald Trump easily won last November. Good to know. But Democrats see reasons for hope in Republican challenges. They include a nasty primary in Texas that could jeopardize a seat Republicans have held for decades. That'd be John Cornyn. In North Carolina and Georgia, the GOP still lacks a clear field of candidates. Trump's influence dials up the uncertain as he decides whether to flex his influential endorsement to stave off intra-party fights. Republicans stress that it remains early in the election cycle and say there is plenty of time for candidates to establish themselves and for Trump to wade in. The president said White House political director James Blair has been working close with John Thune. The Senate majority won't get ahead of the president, but look, him and Leader Thune have been very aligned. I expect them to be aligned and to work closely. But Democrats are going to come at you with everything they got. And here's the thing, you got to pick good candidates. Sometimes, Trump has a pretty good reputation for picking people, endorsing them, and getting them elected in red states. It'll be interesting to see how that is going to play out. But once again, when you just look at the map, headline tells it all. It's tougher for Democrats than Republicans, but Republicans have some challenges ahead in the days. In Washington, D.C., when I worked there, I was there for the whole Washington Redskins name change debacle. And they changed it from the Redskins to the Washington Commanders. And it was, we have to be woke, and Redskins, a lot of people took offense. But you know what was really amazing is I never really saw any Indian groups that were, Native American groups that were upset with the use of Redskins. But I don't know, it got to be a thing, and the old owner, Danny Snyder, was catching a lot of flack, and he was in trouble anyway. And so he, after saying for years and years and years he would never change the names of the Washington Redskins, he changed the name of the Washington Redskins. Little Danny Snyder. Well, now comes word that there've been some talk about, maybe we'll go back to calling them the Redskins now. And now that we're sort of out of this woke world that we were in. And President Donald Trump has entered the fray. According to the Associated Press, you ready for this? President Donald Trump is threatening to hold up a new stadium deal for Washington's NFL team if it does not restore its old name, the Redskins, which was considered by some to be offensive to Native Americans. Trump said Sunday he wants Cleveland's baseball team to revert to its former names. The Indians saying it was there was a big clamoring for this. The Washington Commanders and the Cleveland Guardians have had their current names since the 2022 seasons, and both have said they have no plans to change it back. Trump said the Washington football team was much more valuable if it restored its old name. I may put a restriction on them if they don't change the name back to the original Washington Redskins and get rid of the ridiculous moniker, the Washington Commanders. We'll make a deal for them to build a stadium in Washington if they don't. There you go. How about that? Look, I've always thought it was sort of silly. If you're going to get really technical about it, this is what I learned this from my old broadcasting partner, Larry O'Connell. Let me just share something that he told me that is apparently true. If you are going to be upset and require them to change the names, as they did, from the Washington Redskins to the Washington Commanders, then maybe you need to go to the state of Oklahoma and demand that they change the name of the state. Do you know what Oklahoma means? It's an Indian word for red people. Home of the red people. Oklahoma. So, I don't know. That whole thing is a mess. Danny Snyder was a disastrous owner of the Redskins. And the new owners seem to be not willing to have this fight, but it looks like maybe we'll get the Washington Redskins back someday. And maybe someday the Tennessee Titans will have a good season. We hope for that. It is, boy, I'm just irritating everybody today. 21 minutes now past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
A second arrest in the case of an ICE officer being shot during a robbery in New York City. And a decision on whether one East Tennessee company is responsible after Hurricane Helene floods killed some of its employees. That and more coming up here at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Joan Jones just ahead with all the news and get you up to date on things happening here in the Metro Nashville area. I've got some stories that I want to go through with regard to that, which I think are pretty interesting. Number one, this is from the folks over at Axios. Take it for what it's worth. Elon Musk's Boring Company. It may be boring, but it's about tunnels, boring tunnels. Boring in that sense, not just boring. The innovative tunnel building firm owned by Elon Musk is close to announcing plans for a new project in Nashville connecting the downtown to the airport. I thought maybe, I don't know, this seems like an inherently really bad idea. You know, not that I don't think it'd be good to have, I mean, in a perfect world, to have a tunnel that runs from the airport to downtown and little Tesla taxis going back and forth. This sort of makes sense. But, I mean, a tunnel and you know, they don't call this area Rocky Top for nothing. The rocks, you go down 6 inches in a lot of places and you hit solid granite. Some kind of big, heavy rock. I don't know if that's going to be an easy thing or not. Anyway, how it works, the Boring Company uses special digging technology to build narrow underground tunnels. Tesla vehicles would taxi people to and from the airport. Now, this all came out last week in the Business Journal, according to Axios. And they say there is reason for skepticism because it would require collaboration between Metro and the state. And you know how that goes most of the time. Not at all. Other cities, Chicago, Charlotte, San Antonio, San Francisco, have all been linked to possible tunnel projects, but none of them have gotten off the ground. The only one that has been done that has some success was in Las Vegas. They built a loop, a 0.8-mile tunnel loop in Las Vegas, and apparently that's working out pretty well. Are we ready for a tunnel? You ready? I don't know. All I know is it seems to me that, you know, everybody I talk to around here keeps telling me that the geology is in this area is not very conducive to that. But we'll see. Metro Nashville Public Schools, and this story should hack off a lot of people, is preparing to pay out what is believed to be the largest legal settlement in district history. Approximately $6.5 million to resolve a long-running lawsuit filed by former administrators who alleged retaliation by Superintendent Dr. Adrian Battles. The board will vote on the agreement Tuesday, the same day the case was set to go to trial. The lawsuit was originally filed in 2020 with additional complaints consolidated in the case over the last several years. According to the sources, the $6.5 million settlement will cover lost wages, future economic damages, and other claims, some of which fall outside the standard $300,000 cap for damages in such cases. This according to Fox 17. The plaintiffs allege that they were demoted or pushed out of top leadership roles as retaliation for speaking out on various district matters. One had raised concern about a Black History Month lesson that gained national attention. Others had advocated for the dismissal of Battles' brother, a coach, involved in a physical altercation with the parent. Another had personal ties to lawsuits against the district, and one administrator claimed he was removed after the investigation into grade falsification at a district school. Public schools have denied any wrongdoing. So there's that. A $6.5 million settlement about to be announced. This according to the folks over at Fox 17. Very quickly, Tim Hortons. Have you ever been to Canada? And I went last year, and it was my first time to Canada. And on every corner, like there's a Starbucks on every corner in America, there's a Tim Hortons on every corner in Canada. And now you can have one You can go to Tim Hortons in our area. They're opening up their first Nashville location. During the grand opening on Saturday, July 19th, Tim Hortons gave away free coffee for the first month to the entire first 500 guests. They have good baked goods, and they're good baked goods. Ask Cabana Wife sometime about their apple fritters. She loves them. So there you go. It's in Donaldson. Go get you some Tims. It is 10:30. Time for the news with Joan Jones.
10:30 now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. There's been a second arrest in the case of an ICE officer who was shot in the face during a robbery in New York City over the weekend. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem.
There's absolutely zero reason that someone who is scum of the earth like this should be running loose on the streets of New York City.
Both suspects are from the Dominican Republic and both have long rap sheets. Noem blames New York City Mayor Eric Adams' sanctuary city policies for allowing those men to stay in the U.S. The officer who was shot is in stable condition. TBI has determined that no laws were broken when 6 employees from Impact Plastics were killed during Hurricane Helene flooding last year. The families of those who died have sued. They say the company didn't take any preventative measures despite being in a known flood zone. Alaska Airlines working to get its planes up and running again after a system-wide ground stop that stretched into the early morning hours. Alaska Airlines blamed it on an IT outage, but NBC's Tom Costello says some believe there's something nefarious going on.
We have received warnings in recent months about hackers specifically targeting airlines. And earlier this summer, we saw Hawaiian Airlines, which is a unit of Alaska, being hacked, and also Canada's WestJet being hacked. In total, overnight, more than 200 aircraft simply couldn't go anywhere as Alaska was dealing with the IT issue.
Now, the airline says it'll take a minute to reposition crews and aircraft, and it'll cause some residual delays. An outage of a different kind, ChatGPT is reportedly experiencing a widespread outage. New York Post reports OpenAI has acknowledged the problem, says it's working on it. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Is back pain, knee pain, neck pain running your life? Is it ruining your life? Are you tired of it? Well, listen up, because this could change everything. My name's Chris Hannon. I'm here for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. And I want to tell you about the Big Daddy Trump special. They're always doing great specials for you at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. This is the latest one. Just $12. You heard me right. $12. We'll get you a full exam, x-rays if needed, a well-explained diagnosis, and your first treatment for only $12. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley aren't going to give up on you, just like President Trump never gave up on America. And their patients say it all the time. They'll be like, why didn't I come here first? How come nobody explains it to me like you guys do? Well, because things are different at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So back pain, neck pain, sciatica, numbness, bulging discs, they'll treat it all with non-surgical spinal decompression, robot lasers, even anti-gravity machine. Here's the kicker, though. They'll do it without surgery, without injections, and without pills. So grab your MRI and get ready to finally understand your condition and fix it. 615-246-5009. That's 615-246-5009. Call the Wellness Institute of Nashville today or visit them online, painisbad.com.
It is 36 minutes now past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand. Be back tomorrow. Glad to be here with you on this Monday. It's going to be hot, so be careful out there. Try to temper your outdoor activities so that you don't, get waylaid by the heat and the humidity. No need in that. I want to get into this half hour, if I could, the Epstein matter. I think that there are some things that are misunderstood about the Epstein thing. And look, I mean, we all don't know what we don't know because we haven't seen the documents, and apparently we're not going to see all the documents. There's some question about whether or not they'll release them. The president has said that Pam Bondi can release anything she thinks is pertinent or reliable information, but a full-scale release apparently is not going to happen. Now, here's a couple of things that I want to say about on the outset about this Epstein thing. I don't know where it came up. I don't know who came up with the idea or how it became so important and became a part of the narrative here that there was a list, a client list. And we've been talking about, well, we want the client list to be released. Where did that come from? Was there actually a client list at all? I don't think, but it became the list. We got to have the list. Well, I don't know that there ever was a list. I don't know where that came from or who started that, but it became part of it became sort of everything. Everybody agreed, oh, there's a list and we must see the list. I'm not sure there was a list. I think, are there names in the file that would, people would probably not like to have the information in those files come out? Yes, absolutely. But a client list as such, I don't think there ever really was one. So, you're never, and the other thing is now, we have had such a disappointing revelation about the Epstein matter. And there's so many questions out there. Even if they did release everything, we would have our doubts that they had released everything. You get what I'm saying? A lot of people would say, well, I'd like to see the Epstein files. I want to see them all. Well, do you know that you actually got them all, or did they hold some back? At this point, it's a no-win situation. No matter what you release, there's going to be a fair number of people who just don't believe that that's the whole story. I think there was perhaps a lot. I mean, look, was there bad activity? Yes. Was Epstein a bad guy? Yes. All of those things are true. And people say, well, if there's no there, then why did they prosecute Ghislaine? And my answer to that is she was the procurer of young women for Jeffrey Epstein. And then how does Trump play into all of this? Well, that has gotten really interesting in the last few days. Trump says that has always been on the record as saying in a completely honest and upfront way, yeah, I knew him, and yes, we did see each other in social settings, and I think he said he'd been on the plane. A lot of people had been on the plane, the so-called Lolita Express. But Trump made it very clear he didn't like the business dealings of Jeffrey Epstein and found a concern, he says, about his attraction to younger women, that there were all these younger women around him, and he did not like that, and so he severed the relationship. Okay, now comes word out of the Wall Street Journal, and I mean, this is their story. I'm just reporting that indeed, Donald Trump, the Wall Street Journal story said that he was involved in these documents in a bigger way, and he wrote a birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein when he turned 50, and painted a picture to go with it, and it was said to be lewd and bawdy. Well, as soon as that story came out, Donald Trump filed a $10 billion lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal saying not true. And then there's this. I found this story today, townhall.com. The Wall Street Journal's latest hit piece on President Donald Trump falsely claiming that he sent a lewd letter to Jeffrey Epstein is not just another smear job. It's the work of the very same media operatives who peddled the debunked Russian collusion hoax. It's like, oh my goodness, are you kidding me? The article was co-authored by reporters with ties to Maine Justice, a publication founded by Mary Jacoby, wife of Glenn Simpson, the founder of Fusion GPS. That's the same shady opposition research firm Hillary Clinton and the Democrat National Committee paid to fabricate the infamous Steele dossier. In other words, the same people behind one of the biggest political disinformation campaigns in American history are now behind the absurd Epstein letter story. Joe Palazzolo, one of the Wall Street Journal reporters behind the latest hit piece on Trump, has a telling background. He previously worked for Maine Justice, where he covered the DOJ before joining the Wall Street Journal investigations team in 2019. While he spent years covering U.S. prisons, courts, and gun laws, what's more notable is the publication he came from. Simpson and Jacoby got their start at the Wall Street Journal before pivoting into political opposition research, most infamously orchestrating the Steele dossier that fueled the bogus Russian collusion hoax. Now the same media ecosystem that helped push this disinformation campaign is back again, this time smearing Trump with an Epstein-related story he flatly denies. Another layer to the twisted web, Jacoby's father is a longtime executive at Stevens Investment, the same firm whose legal counsel once included Hillary Clinton during her time at the Rose Law Firm. The so-called bombshell Epstein story is rooted in the same politically charged network that gave way to the Steele dossier and the Russian collusion hoax, which, by the way, we'll talk more about in the next hour. New developments. Tim Burchett, Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett, did a big interview this weekend suggesting that the Biden administration might have tampered with the Epstein files. Here is Tim Burchett speaking this weekend on the Sunday Talks.
Just because somebody flew on a plane doesn't mean they're a headgum pedophile. You know, I have a lot of wealthy friends. I aspire to be wealthy, but I've taken a vow of poverty because my daughter rides horses.
That's a pretty funny line.
So, but I have a lot of wealthy friends, and they fly on people's planes, and their plane will be down, and they'll say, hey, we're going somewhere, and we got an extra seat. Do you want to go? And they don't even know the person on the plane. So, you know, that's one of the things I worry about, too, because, you know, President Trump admitted that he flew on his dadgum plane, and so I worry about some innocent people. I worry about there's over 1,000 people that this dirtbag apparently offended. And currently, I believe the devil's dealing with him. But I worry about some of those innocents' names being out on that, too, as well. Yes, ma'am.
So, Congressman, you think unsealing the grand jury records is enough for you now?
I think it's a start. I don't think we're ever going to get to the bottom of anything, all of it, ma'am. I mean, this town doesn't give up its secrets very easy. And I'd warn people, too. Now we're getting a hold of this stuff. What happened the last 4 years under the Biden administration? Senator Dick Durbin blocked my Senator Marsha Blackburn, who valiantly fought to get those records out and acted pretty much like there wasn't anything, and the media backed him up on it. And now all of a sudden the media thinks they've got something, and it's leveled towards Trump. But my warning is this: let's make sure that we're not releasing the names of some of these who are then children, now adults, that were abused by this dirtbag Epstein, and let's make sure we don't release things that have innocents' names on them. That's been my concern with the original. I thought they were dragging their feet in the beginning under the Biden administration. They never did anything.
You have been very critical of Pam Bondi during this, and the president said he thinks she's handled it well. So where is the disconnect there? And do you think she should resign?
I think her communication with us early on was not as good. I mean, the binder, for instance, that she put out, I was very excited about that, but then I found the contents of it. I think it was her limited knowledge and her and taking advice from the wrong people, which you do a lot of in Washington. There's plenty of people to give you advice, but when it turns out not good, you turn around and they're nowhere to be found. And I think that's what she did in the beginning. I think if she turns the corner, I have a saying, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. If she finishes strong on this, then I'm all for it. I'm sure the learning curve is steep, and I think she blundered in the beginning. I really do, as most Americans do, because that white notebook that those young folks, those influencers, walked out with, I thought that was it. And then when I started digging into it, it was stuff that I like my postings on Twitter, or X, but that's about the limit of my computer knowledge. But even I could find those things on the internet that were already out there. So I think they blundered in the beginning, but I think they're going to finish strong.
Well, we'll see how they finish and how much of this stuff is going to be put out there. I mean, but here's the thing: nobody at this point believes that we're going to get the whole story. I mean, is it entirely possible that the Biden people took some of the documents out and did something with them? Yeah. But Pam Bondi has access to the thing. She says there's a lot less there than you would imagine. Dan Bongino says there's a lot less out there than you might imagine. Kash Patel says that there's a lot less out there than you might imagine in those files. But one way or the other, I don't think there ever was, my personal opinion, a client list where there are people's been named. Yeah, but how do you separate, as Congressman Burchett points out very effectively and correctly, how do you know, who was, okay, just because you were on the plane, does that make you complicit? And did absolutely you were involved in some of this pedophilia? No, it doesn't. So, there's at this point, nobody's going to believe the whole thing anyway. It's been released. People have made up their mind about the Epstein thing. And look, again, I want to point out, I'm not an apologist for Jeffrey Epstein. He was a bad guy. He was a pedophile, and there were other people who no doubt were complicit in all of this stuff. But the bottom line is, by looking at the documents, how do you know, unless you were there? So the only person who really holds the key to the real story here is Ghislaine, who's in jail. During an interview with CNN earlier last week, Burchett expressed concern that the Biden administration may have tampered with the Epstein files, suggesting that due to what he called a history of corruption, evidence might have been altered or planted. Could have been planted. That's entirely possible. He warned that he could prevent the public from ever learning the truth. The reason I'm worried about these files is that the fact the Biden administration, in my opinion, has a history of corruption, has tampered with these files, and we're never going to get to the bottom of it. I think stuff could have been placed in those files, said the Tennessee lawmaker. See? There you go. I mean, how do you know that what is there at this point is reliable? That it hasn't been tampered with? You don't. There's no way to know that for sure. So I don't know how we get out of this intractable problem. Do we deserve to know more? Yes, I believe 1,000% we should know the truth. But how will you ever have confidence that you've heard the entire truth? And I think Trump's motivation here, quite frankly, is he was on the plane. And I think there's no evidence that Trump did anything improper. He did end the relationship. That is documented and well established. Jeffrey Epstein's not going to give us the answers. Ghislaine's in jail, and anybody else whose name might be on this list is doing everything they can. So are there people who are going to skate in this thing? Yeah, I would think so. At this point, it would seem that nothing is going to happen. We might get some more documents, but I will predict to you that at the end of the day, we're still going to be looking at this Jeffrey Epstein thing, and we're going to have doubts about whether or not we've heard the entire story. At this point, how do you know you're getting all the documents? How do you know that? You can't. So I think there was a little less to this thing than perhaps many people suspected, and how this whole idea of a client list took on a life of its own. Were there people who were associated? Yes. But was there an actual list, like a black book, No, I don't think there was, and I don't think there ever was, and I don't know where that came from, and I don't know how it became such an important part of the narrative for all of this stuff. The Jeffrey Epstein thing continues to be something that we're going to hear a lot about, but I just want to warn you folks, I don't think we're ever going to get satisfactory answers. I'm like Tim Burchett. I don't think we're going to get it at this point. And because you don't know what happened with those documents when the Biden people were in charge. 51 minutes now past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk.
Middle Tennesseans among 80 million Americans under some sort of heat advisory or warning today, and a father from Canada under arrest charged in connection to his 9-year-old daughter's death. We've got these stories and more at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk. Hey, Ken Weaver.
What's going on, Brother Brian?
Man, it's been a while. How you been?
I've been all right. Just got back from visiting Mom and Dad and the whole fam out there in Tulsa.
Oh, you went to Big T, huh?
Yeah, and it's just as hot over there as it is here.
What did they think about that Sylvester Stallone story based out of Tulsa? What do they call it? The Tulsa King?
Yeah, Tulsa King.
Yeah, I don't think much of that is actually shot in Tulsa, right?
Well, the first season was. The first season was almost exclusively Tulsa. From what I understand, the second season was elsewhere, and I think a lot of it was Sly didn't like wearing those 3-piece mobster suits in Tulsa's summer heat.
And it can be brutal in Tulsa, yeah. Oklahoma summers can be brutal.
Yeah, so the next season, he apparently had to leave Tulsa and go do his business elsewhere. But he's still the Tulsa King, from what I understand.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they do shoot exteriors there and stuff like that. But I mean, I think the bulk of that production went elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's like I'm watching all these shows, like we talk about Yellowstone, for example.
Right.
A lot of that is shot in Utah.
Right.
In fact, I just got through I've been watching some episodes of this series, The Chosen. And a lot of that is supposed to be in the Mideast, of course, to be, in Israel and Egypt and all of that. And it's actually shot in Utah.
All right. Yeah. There's a lot of desert in Utah.
Yeah. It's funny how, a lot of these things, seem to look like you see a show and you say, well, that looks just like America. It's Toronto.
Right.
Apparently a lot of movies are shot in Toronto. So, but are you surviving the heat? I mean, because it's been so brutal.
Yeah. The week before last, our air conditioning at the house went out.
Oh, no.
And they did not have the part that was needed for it.
That's bad.
So we went 2 days without AC, but it got hot. I mean, it got up to 90 degrees on the second day in the house, but thank goodness it happened then and not this week, because this week, dude, we're cooking this week, man.
Yeah, I know. It's just brutal. You go out and it's almost like you walk into a wall.
Yes.
Of heat and humidity. And I don't like either of those things. All right, well, Ken Weaver, we've talked it up. It's time for you to do your thing at the top of the hour, 11 o'clock. Here's the news with Ken Weaver on Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Ginger Z says roughly 80 million people are affected by extreme heat today, and that hot weather is just going to slowly creep eastward.
Yes, climatologically, it's the hottest time of year, but this means it's even above what it normally is, and that's why I have extreme heat warnings from Wichita back through Springfield to Memphis. Some of those numbers will approach 110 for the feels like, and we're going to see this slide to the east by the end of the week.
Yeah, right now, Middle Tennessee's under a heat advisory, but portions of West Middle Tennessee and West Tennessee is an excessive heat warning. Got the full forecast and a traffic update coming up in 5 minutes. A father from Canada is under arrest, charged in the connection of his 9-year-old daughter's death. Police in upstate New York say they got initial reports from Luciano Fratolin that his daughter Melina was abducted while they were on their way back to Canada after vacationing in the U.S., but New York State police say that turned out to be false.
The investigation has determined sometime after Melina's phone call with her mother and before Mr. Fratolin's 911 call, he allegedly murdered Melina and left her body in a remote area where she was later discovered by law enforcement.
Yeah, Captain Robert McConnell describes that area of Ticonderoga.
During that search detail, at approximately 10:50, members of the New York State Police Forest Rangers located Melina deceased in the shallow portion of a pond.
The father has no criminal history, has no domestic violence history either. Kilmar Abrego Garcia staying put in jail for now. His lawyers and the Department of Justice came to an agreement this morning on a plan to keep him in jail while he awaits his human smuggling trial here in Tennessee. It also delays the government's plans to remove him to a third country, a significant concession from the Trump administration, which had threatened to immediately deport Garcia after release. Now, a Maryland judge will have an opportunity to issue an order blocking ICE from taking action. We'll stay on top of the story for you. Meantime, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem joining the long list of people condemning Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell over his interference with ICE agents attempting to remove violent illegal immigrants.
This guy's priorities are completely screwed up, and he doesn't deserve to be a mayor. And he needs to stop and knock it off and grow up and act like a leader and start sending his law enforcement officers to have our backs.
Noem says of those removed in Nashville earlier this year, 90 were convicts, including known MS-13 gang members, a child rapist, and murderers. O'Connell contends the internet posting of the names of ICE agents operating in Nashville was a mistake. And according to a new study, the earlier a child receives a smartphone, the worse their mental health may be.
This research study looked at 100,000 individuals who they surveyed who were 18 to 24 years old. They asked them, when did you get a smartphone? And they asked them about a whole host of mental health symptoms. And they found that those who had a smartphone before the age of 13 had worse mental health outcomes. And by that, we mean they reported more suicidal thoughts, more feelings of aggression, more feelings of detachment from reality, and hallucinations.
That's ABC News Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Tara Narula on the study's details. And the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
It is 6 minutes past the hour of 11 o'clock on Super Talk. Brian Wilson in the chair for Chris Hand, who'll be back here tomorrow. Glad that you could join us today. Got so much to talk about. I think the big story, the one story out there that is catching everyone's attention is what was released, I guess it was Friday night, and the story percolated across the weekend by the Director of National Intelligence. That's Tulsi Gabbard. She released a bunch of information that has to do with Russia. And it turns out that as she's had a chance to dig in and learn more about what was going on with the intelligence community, that they had determined in very short order that Donald Trump had nothing to do with Russia. There was no Russia collusion. The Russians weren't even trying to apparently manipulate, according to our intelligence community, what was going on with the 2016 elections. But the Obama administration stepped in and said, oh, no, we need that to stay alive for political purposes. And even though the FBI knew even though the intelligence community knew in very short order, even before Donald Trump was sworn in, that there was no Russian effort and there was no Russian collusion. There was collusion, all right. It was collusion on the part of the Obama administration to keep that story alive for 2 years. 2 long years. And we're learning more and more about this from Tulsi Gabbard. Now, this weekend she sat down with Maria Bartiromo. I'm telling you right now, as some people find Maria Bartiromo a little off-putting. I don't know why, but I'm telling you, that show on Fox on the weekends is sort of must-see TV because she always has the best interviews, and she has an interview with Tulsi Gabbard, which was quite revealing, so much so to this story that I thought I would put together about a 4-minute clip. I mean, I normally don't run things that long, but I think there's a lot here. Let me go through some of it. I'll stop and start it so we can talk about some of the things that she's talking, give a little more background on it. Here is Tulsi Gabbard from the Maria Bartiromo show on Fox this weekend talking about how Russia was a hoax and everybody knew it, but then the Obama administration, they had their own meeting where they colluded to keep the story alive.
And in the months leading up to the November 2016 election, the intelligence community agreed that there was no intelligence that reflected that Russia was trying to hack the election in favor of either candidate. The evidence showed, the intelligence showed that, again, Russia did not have either the intent nor the capability to be able to impact the outcome of the United States election.
Well, hold on a minute. So they knew, even before Trump, that it was a nothing burger story. It was opposition research cooked up by the Hillary Clinton campaign. Nothing, Russian collusion. But then they knew right off that it wasn't real. And you know who else knew? The FBI knew the stinking thing wasn't real either. They had come to the same conclusion. But did they leave it alone? Did they let it go? No, we have to have an issue. We hate Trump so much. We must have something to lord over him. Let's keep this alive.
So it was very striking when we look back again at the documents that I declassified and released that shows there was a shift. In early December, the first week of December, again, another document was produced by the intelligence community, a president's daily brief that was consistent with every other assessment that was done previously leading up to the election.
All right. So now understand that the president's daily brief is the most sensitive information. Honestly, you want to be, what the truth of the matter is the entire intelligence community serves to provide information for largely one client, the President of the United States. Other people get access to that as they need it, but the President of the United States can see it all. He's at the top of the food chain when it comes to that, and they're about to put all this information in his daily brief, and it's going to go over there, and he won't be able to say he didn't know because it was in the brief. Here's the brief. And you know what? They decided that they wanted to give him what you call plausible deniability. They wanted to give him the ability to say, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about it. And so they had a meeting at the White House to discuss this. It was taken out of the daily brief. And they met to discuss, basically what they should do going forward to keep the thing alive.
Russia did not this is after the election now, did not attempt to affect the outcome of the American election. That was never published. Hours before it would have gone into President Obama's President's Daily Brief, it was pulled by a senior level intelligence official saying that they had to pull it because they had received new guidance.
What? That's a very vague term. Well, we got some new guidance here. We have to pull it. We can't put that in. Don't put that in. It's an incomplete. We don't want to put that in front of the president. We have new guidance. What does that mean? Was it guidance from a piece of intelligence that they gathered? Or was it guidance from the Obama administration saying, we want to keep this thing alive?
The very next day, this meeting was called, a National Security Council meeting, bring together all of the senior leaders of President Obama's cabinet, and the topic that was put forward was a sensitive matter.
A sensitive matter.
The tasks that came out of that meeting was coming from President Obama directing the intelligence community, then Obama's ODNI director Clapper, to produce a document, to produce an intelligence assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow affected the outcome of the election that had.
But we already know they didn't. They already knew that they didn't. So Trump says, well, I don't believe that. I believe it happened, and I want you to go out and find out how that happened. This is my mandate to you, intelligence committee. Go find out how they. But they said, but they already had determined that they didn't. They wanted to keep it alive as a political issue, and so they basically told the intelligence community, and I assume the FBI as well, hey, keep this thing alive, would you? It'll be helpful to us because we all know you hate Donald Trump as much as we do. So let's just, the deep state was out to get him, and they were working behind the scenes to keep a story alive for 2 years that wasn't a story. It was unadulterated, you know what. That's what it was. The interview continues.
Already occurred, electing Donald Trump to the presidency. This document that they published in January of 2017 was the foundational groundwork that they continued to reference over and over and over again to enact this years-long coup against President Trump.
That's why they raided Mar-a-Lago, that they wanted to find the Trump-Russia documents that indicated there was absolutely no collusion and that there was no evidence to even start such an investigation. But Trump didn't have it there in Mar-a-Lago, but that's why they raided his house in 2022. Is that correct?
I don't have the details on the specifics of the Mar-a-Lago raid itself. Those are within the possession of the FBI. But there's no question in my mind that this intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered be published, which contained a manufactured intelligence document. It's worse than even politicization of intelligence. It was manufactured intelligence that sought to achieve President Obama and his team's objective, which was undermining President Trump's presidency and subverting the will of the American people. So yes, next week we will be releasing more detailed information about how exactly this took place.
Wow, let's get that.
And the extent to which this information was sought to be hidden from the American people, hidden from officials who would be in a position to do something. Accountability is essential for the future of our country, for the American people to have any sense of trust in the integrity of our democratic republic. Accountability, action, prosecution, indictments for those who are responsible for trying to steal our democracy is essential for us to make sure that this never happens to our country again.
So they're going to go after them, and they're going to actually bring charges. And some people are suggesting that charges could be brought against, well, people in the people like Clapper, perhaps, people in the intelligence community. But they're also talking about that there is a possibility that the charges could be brought against Barack Obama. Huh. How about that? Did that get your attention? Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that people are saying might happen here. Now, a word of caution. Let me just throw this at you, because you know where my thinking is, and I've seen this happen so many times. It's one of the major theories that I put forward is that you have to look at how this stuff comes to be, and you have to decide whether or not it's valid. And yeah, look, this Donald Trump did not collude with the Russians. That much was clear. They kept it alive for political purposes because they wanted something to beat him up with. They wanted something that would allow them to keep open investigations into Carter Page and all that other nonsense. So they go to FISA and continue to spy. I mean, there's all this bad activity that was going on. There just really wasn't anything to it at all, and they knew better. That seems treasonous to me.
We are referring all of the documents that we have uncovered to the Department of Justice and the FBI for a criminal referral. I will do all that I can, and we have whistleblowers actually coming forward now after we release these documents, because there are people who were around, who were working within the intelligence community at this time, who were so disgusted by what happened. We're starting to see some of them come out of the woodwork here because they too, like you and I and the American people, want to see justice delivered.
Now, so here's the thing. There were people there who knew about this, and you say, well, why are they coming out now? Why didn't they come out before? Because they declassified the document. See, when you got a classified document, you can't talk about it. You may know things. You're sworn to, what do they call them, NDAs, and all that kind of stuff. You're not allowed to talk about it. But once it's declassified, you are free to go out and say anything you want to say about it. So by declassifying these documents and making them publicly known, you're going to see a lot of people come out of the woodwork who were there, who saw what happened, who were, there at very important inflection points in that whole scandal, and they're gonna name names. So this thing has the potential to be good.
So we're going to provide everything that we have, everything that we will continue to gather to the Department of Justice for that direct intent and that direct purpose. There must be indictments, those responsible, no matter how powerful they are and were at that time, no matter who was involved in creating this treasonous conspiracy against the American people, they all must be held accountable. I'm not a lawyer. In my view, we have the evidence to be able to move forward and bring about justice, yes, to prosecute and indict those responsible.
All right, so if that happens, it'll be bombshell stuff. I mean, it'll be crazy. And again, I just want to put out one little caveat, and here's the thing. Is it a story? Yes. Is it something that needs to be explored? Absolutely. Is there a side benefit to releasing all this information now? Absolutely there is. And you know my theory, you're diverting attention away from what? They're catching a lot of heat about Epstein. You throw this out there, it changes the narrative. So they're trying to change the narrative. That's part of it. But, I mean, it is a legitimate thing that needs to be investigated. Nonetheless, I don't think that Trump has any, I don't think Trump has any exposure in the Jeffrey Epstein thing, and I'll tell you why in very quick order. The Biden people had the documents, and they were throwing everything they had at Donald Trump. Why wouldn't they throw that at him? If you had it. They didn't have it. It wasn't there. So, here we are now. Another shoe has dropped. This is a story that we're just beginning to see now, and those documents are coming out of there, and there is evidence that, again, the intelligence community knew full well, as well as the FBI, knew full well there was no Russian collusion. It was going to the president's daily brief. All of a sudden, somebody out of left field said, no, you can't send that to the president. We need to have a conversation. They get together and have a meeting at the White House where they discuss, what they should be doing about it. And they send a new directive down after that meeting saying, tell us how it happened, not if it happened. But they already knew there was no there. They changed it. They wanted to keep it alive. It's a scandal. It is important. It's also important to note that it is one of those things they do in Washington, throw out something big to change the topic. When you don't like what the flack you're getting on something, change the topic, change the narrative. Trying to throw it back on them. And is there a legitimate thing here? Yes. But they're also looking for anything to change the narrative in Washington right now, the Trump administration. Just got to say that to be honest about it. Now, in just a couple of minutes, when we come back, well, I'll tell you more about this in just a bit. So hang in there. We got more to say about this. It is 22 past the hour.
A father from Canada under arrest, charged in the connection of his 9-year-old daughter's death. Her body found in a pond in New York State. And NYPD officers confirm a second suspect now in custody for the Saturday night shooting of an off-duty Border Patrol agent in a New York City park. These stories and more at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver, and he'll be along here in just a couple moments with the news. As you've heard there, a lot of stuff percolating in Washington today, a lot of stuff happening here as well, so we're staying on top of it. You can count on us to bring you the latest information. Talking about this scandal that Russia was BS, and we knew it then, we know it now. The intelligence community knew it even before Donald Trump was sworn in. The FBI knew it even before Donald Trump was sworn in, that there was no there, but then apparently the Trump administration said, wait. Let's keep this alive. We need a scandal on this guy. Which is, there was nothing there, and then they did everything they could to keep it alive for 2 years. Really, just unbelievable. And now comes word that that the intelligence community is releasing documents that and send them over to the FBI, and there's going to be recommendations that cases be brought against people in the Obama administration. President Donald Trump, according to a Live Zet, suggested Saturday that former President Barack Obama and several senior intelligence officials involved in the Trump-Russia investigation may face prosecution following the declassification of new documents revealing their knowledge of the collusion's narrative falsehood. During the weekend, newly declassified documents released by Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard show that Barack Obama was briefed in 2016 that Trump-Russia collusion allegations were unfounded. So this was included in a presidential brief prior to Trump taking office. Disclosure comes after CIA Director John Ratcliffe revealed findings from a new CIA report detailing coordinated efforts by former FBI Director James Comey, former CIA Director John Brennan, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, and others. Was it Trump? Was it Obama? Was it Biden? Obama's hands are on this. And what is he doing now? He's over here with his wife doing a podcast, walking with flip-flops on the beach, acting like his whole career was everything in a bag of chips. It wasn't. It was the most corrupt presidency we have ever seen. We have thought Joe Biden was bad. Now we know who was behind it all. It was Barack Hussein Obama, and we need answers, says Harrison Fields, a spokesman for the Trump White House, speaking on Fox News. Folks, this has got a drip, drip, drip quality to it. Stay tuned. A lot more information to come out about this one. One to watch for sure. Time for the news, 11:30.
$11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. 80 million Americans under some sort of heat advisory or excessive heat alert. And Middle Tennesseans, you are among the 80 million. We're under a heat advisory. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. A father from Canada is under arrest, charged in the connection of his 9-year-old daughter's death. Police in upstate New York say they got initial reports on Saturday from Luciano Fratolin that his daughter Melina was abducted while they were on a way back to Canada after vacationing in the U.S. But police say his story turned out to be false. They found the body of 9-year-old Melina in Ticonderoga.
During that search detail, at approximately 10:50, members of the New York State Police Forest Rangers located Melina deceased in the shallow portion of a pond.
Captain Robert McConnell of the New York State Police.
He has no criminal history. He has no domestic violence history either.
Yeah, and there was no evidence that Melina was under any distress while on vacation with her father, according to state police. NYPD confirms a second suspect is now in custody for the Saturday night shooting of an off-duty United States Border Patrol agent in a New York City park. Here's Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem.
We were able to bring the second individual in and have detained him as well, and he will face consequences and hopefully strong prosecution for his crimes.
Now, the second suspect has not been identified, but they have identified the suspected shooter as 21-year-old Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez, a man who reportedly entered the country illegally in 2023.
I'm calling on every single mayor and sanctuary city and sanctuary governor to change their policies and to change their tactics right now. Their job is to take an oath to protect the public.
42-year-old Border Patrol agent was shot in the face and armed during the encounter and is expected to survive. And turning to sports, the Tennessee Titans quarterback Will Levis has decided to undergo surgery on his right shoulder, so he'll be out for the entire season. His surgery scheduled for July 29th. Meantime, Cameron Ward, the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 draft, will step up. He'll be backed up by Brandon Allen. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 36 minutes now past the hour of 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. Boy, Ken Weaver, you had an interesting story there.
What's that, Brother Brian?
About Will Levis.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we have a good season. I want to see things turn around for the Tennessee Titans. But it just seems like there's an awful lot of chaos with that team, doesn't there?
Well, they're having to rebuild. That offensive line last year, it's never just one person's fault in a team sport.
No.
But the offensive line just did not give anybody any time back there, including Will Levis. And even when he did have time, his biggest critics would say that he made a lot of mental errors that probably could have helped the situation a lot had he not made them. And now they've got this highly touted number one draft pick Cam Ward coming in, Cameron Ward. He likes to go by Cameron Ward. This guy's got all the tools. He's just young. He's a rookie in the NFL. And looks like it's going to be his team. And I think the Titans did some stuff during the draft to try to shore up that offensive line. So we'll see what comes from it. But, Levis is out. And from some of the folks that I've been talking to, he's probably not going to be a Titan much longer anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but I don't know for sure. That's just me talking to some folks out in the hallway.
Well,
who are kind of in the know.
By the way, the people down the hall are very much in the know.
Yes,
you're right about that.
Yeah, those are the sports talk guys.
Yeah, those sports talk guys down there. They do have it sort of plugged in. There's no doubt about that. All right. Hey, if you listen to Dan Mandis, there was a very long conversation today because Dan is just apoplectic.
Oh yeah.
That In-N-Out Burger is coming to our area.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I live in Watertown, but I do a lot of business in Lebanon because that's the nearest. If I can't find it in Watertown, and I can find a lot of things here.
Yeah.
But there's some things you just have to go to Lebanon for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go into Lebanon, I drive, and there's an In-N-Out Burger that's almost done.
All right.
Yeah, it looks like it's coming together. It's coming together really quick. In-N-Out Burger from California. Coming to this area, but they are making a big commitment to the region. And there's an interview with Lindsay Snyder, who's the CEO, very young, and apparently inherited the company from family, as I understand it. I don't know the whole story, but they're bringing these In-N-Out Burgers, and people in California love the In-N-Out Burger. I mean, apparently it's something. I don't know. I've never been to one. I am anxious. Dan Mandis has promised that when the one in Lebanon opens up, that he's going to buy me lunch.
All right.
And since Dan has never bought me lunch, I'm that I can recall, I'm gonna hold him to that because I feel like it's the least he could do for me. I'm a retiree on Social Security. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, you're on a fixed income.
Buy the old guy on a fixed income
a burger.
I
Yeah.
mean, what else can you do? But let's listen to a little. I want you to hear a little bit from Lindsay Snyder, talking about why not only they're coming to Tennessee, but they're moving their headquarters to Franklin.
There's a lot of great things about California, but raising a family is not easy here. Doing business is not easy here. No, the bulk of
when she says here, she's doing this interview from California.
our stores are still going to be here in California, but it will be wonderful having an office out there, growing out there.
Totally.
And being able to have the family and other people's families out there. And so in that, it's two-part. We'll have everybody under one roof here in Baldwin Park, and we'll close our fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a big transition. And that's happening in the next few years, right?
Yeah, we've kind of, given it a longer runway so that it's smoother for everybody so they can plan and all of that. And we gave them a lot of notice, because we love them and want to make it as easy as possible. But by 2030, we'll close the Irvine office.
The Irvine office is going to be closed by 2030. So they're making the transition to come this way. She's going to move over here, and we're opening up a bunch of these In-N-Out Burgers in Tennessee.
All right.
And Dan Mandis is losing his ever-loving mind.
Dude.
I don't know. It's
I was so excited for the Whataburgers. Brian, I've been one time since we got Whataburgers in.
I know. You know, may I just say my major complaint against Whataburger is that when they opened up, they had something called a Dr. Pepper milkshake, which was so good. And believe it or not, it was really good.
Oh, yes.
And I, of course, I'm a Dr. Pepper fan, but I wanted to get it. And now they never have it anymore. I want my Dr. Pepper milkshake. And now they're doing banana pudding milkshakes and other things. Bring back the Dr. Pepper milkshake. Put it on the menu and leave it alone. It's a big hit. It's a big hit.
It's a big hit.
So, yeah, but no, I love a good burger.
Mm-hmm.
So you got your Five Guys. Love the Five Guys. You got your what is it? Your In-N-Out burger coming in, and then you got great burgers in this area.
Yeah, you got Five Guys, Whataburger.
Whataburger.
What is the other one? There's something. Oh, Cookout.
Oh yeah,
Cookout burgers.
Yeah. But she's talking about, though, she's apparently a born-again Christian, and the company really does sort of operate from a Christian standpoint. I understand that on their cups they have Bible verses, for example.
Oh, you can't do that in California.
Well, that's why they're leaving. That's why. I mean, I guess a lot of people would be upset if they left California, because California. I don't know about you. When I grew up in Odessa, there was a thing called not Taco Bell, but Taco Villa.
Oh,
it was very small, very just very localized to the Texas, West Texas area. I think there were some in Lubbock, some in Amarillo, and in my hometown of Odessa, there were a bunch of them. And I grew up eating those bean burritos over at the Taco Villa.
Taco Villa.
Me and my friend David Roberts would eat a bean burrito, just about one a day.
Yeah.
And when I go back home, what's the first thing I want to do? I want to get one of those stinking bean burritos. It's a vestige of my youth, and I think that's the way it is for Californians.
Yeah.
But I think, it'll be interesting to see whether or not this takes off well. I think it will, from everything I can tell. Here's more from Lindsay Snyder.
Florida has begged us, and we're still saying no. The East Coast states, we're still saying no. We're able to reach Tennessee from our Texas warehouse. So we're not putting our whole meat facility where we do all of our own beef and send it to our stores, make patties. We're not going to have that there. We'll have a warehouse, but not do our own meat there. So we'll be able to deliver from Texas. So Texas can reach some other states, so,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I just like that last part. I just left in there because I just like it.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. That sounds like that Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah, good times. But no, so there, I don't know how long it's going to be. I mean, I look at it, the facade is up. They've done everything, but it seems to me the structure is up. They got the flag on the top of the building, which means they've topped out. I guess they got to do all of the interior and the parking lot. But I mean, it seems like to me the way that thing's been progressing, it won't be that long.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna have some competition, dude. We got lots of burger joints here in Middle Tennessee. Sister Joan just texted. I forgot about Culver's.
Oh, yeah, I love me a good Butterburger.
Yeah, and then Burger Republic. Boy, they'll make you a burger. Whoo, they'll make you a burger. But there's a lot of burger places here. But there's plenty of people here. I think they'll do well, and we welcome corporate jobs.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, if California continues to lose and we continue to gain. People are coming here and coming to other places. In this particular case, from a strategic standpoint, she likes the Franklin area for raising her family, and she wants to move the family. Again, it's a cheaper place to do business. If your corporate headquarters are in Tennessee, you get a lot of tax breaks that you wouldn't get in California. So you can run the company more efficiently. It will take time for that transition to take place. But she wants to be here, and since they have a meat processing facility in Texas, they can send them left or they can send them right on I-40.
That's right.
Send the beef left to go to California and all your stores out there. Send them right to come to Tennessee. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how long that it takes for them to get up and running here. But one thing I know for certain, my first hamburger at the In-N-Out Burger will be purchased by Dan Mandis.
I think you got to get the biggest one on the menu.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, this other story that caught my attention today was about here it is. Yeah, Elon Musk's Boring Company.
Oh yeah.
He apparently they're supposed to be, according to Axios today, and they're quoting actually the Nashville Business Journal, that there's about to be an announcement about a tunnel that would be running between B&A and downtown.
Yeah.
Now, they've talked about this before, but I didn't think it was really serious. But apparently, according to this, some kind of announcement is about to be made with regard to that. But correct me if I'm wrong. You go down about 6 inches and you get from dirt to rock, right?
Right. Bedrock.
That's why they call it Rocky Top.
Yep.
It's all rocky around here.
Well, you remember whenever you were here in the mornings, you, me, and Chris, we'd be tooling along, and all of a sudden just boom.
Oh yeah, I remember that. There would be this exactly the same time every morning.
Yeah,
I think it's about 7:47. You'd hear this sound, and it would make the whole building shake. They were blowing up to build a basement for one of the hotels there.
Yeah, something like
a
that.
few blocks away.
There.
But we would feel it.
Oh yeah.
Because it's nothing. It's like a bell. You blow up the downtown area, and it just reverberates because it's just rock.
So with the Boring Company, do they blast, Brian, or do they just drill?
No, they get in and they drill. But I mean, how do you drill through rock?
Yeah, that
seems like a pretty good slog if you're talking about a 10-mile tunnel.
Right. And then what if there's a crash in the tunnel?
Yeah,
after it's completed.
Apparently, it's going to be used. The idea is that there will be a
train or something?
Well, no, Tesla taxis. Self-driven taxis.
Interesting.
Yeah. So won't that be fun?
Yeah.
To go from the downtown to the airport. I like the idea of keeping that airport traffic off of I-40.
Yes, sir.
But I mean, boy, first of all, it sounds expensive. And number two, the question I think that a lot of people are wondering is, can you actually dig through the rock here?
Man, that's going to be
we talked about this back when Megan Barry came up with her transit plan. Part of it was that we need a tunnel.
Right. Yeah.
And they were all, and then it just went away. Everybody said, that's the dumbest thing ever. But, who pays for the tunnel, I guess, is the big question.
Says right here in Axios, citing the Nashville Business Journal, the Nashville Tunnel would be between 5 and 10 miles long.
I know. That's
a long tunnel.
That's a long tunnel. That is. Well, it's only 20 miles for the channel between France and England.
Right.
That goes under the water. That's 20 miles. You know how long it took them to do that? Decades.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see whether or not that actually comes to fruition, or if it's just. I mean, it's been talked about before. It's been talked about in other towns, but the only one that apparently is actually up and running is a 0.8 of a mile long tunnel that he built in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, we'll have to keep a close eye on that because according to the Nashville Business Journal, this announcement is soon.
Yeah, it's coming any time now. And is it, if Elon says I'm gonna build it with my money as a demonstration, well, okay, great.
That's even better.
But here's the thing: it's going to require city and state cooperation. And guess what? They don't cooperate.
Well, they don't like each other.
Yeah. Well, we'll chat with Chad Benson here about what's up on his show here in just a minute. It's 51 past the hour. 56 past the hour. I'm Brian Wilson, wrapping things up here on the Chris Hand Show. And coming up next, right after the news with Ken Weaver, is one Chad Benson. Chad, good morning to you. How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. How was your weekend, brother?
We actually had an eventful weekend. I mentioned it earlier. Cabana wife was raised a Methodist, but we joined a Baptist church. And she needed to dunk her is what we basically needed to do. And so she got baptized this weekend.
Nice, man. That's a great weekend.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. And she kind of did me because I knew she was going to have to do that as we joined the church, because you have to, apparently it's part of the bylaws of the church, said, and we're Baptist, it's in the word, it's in the title.
It's right there in the title. You're correct.
You're a Baptist, you're going to get dunked, all right? But she was raised in the Methodist church, and they sprinkle, and so now she had to get dunked. And so I didn't know, I thought it was going to happen like sometime in the future. And so I'm sitting in church, and she leans over to me, and she says, I gotta go to the restroom. And I said, okay. So she left. Next thing I know, the church, the pastor's in the baptistry, and she's coming down, and she's getting baptized right in front of me. She surprised me with it. I didn't know. So it was a big surprise thing. I mean, I knew there was going to be a baptism. I just didn't know it was going to be right then.
That's a nice weekend, though.
It was a nice weekend, and, a great, we had a music festival here in Watertown, so a lot of fun.
Well, that sounds like a good one. I saw you guys, listen to you guys talking about the old In-N-Out burger. I'm pretty pumped. I'm pumped. I'm excited.
From California, what is so special about them?
It's just the way they make them. Here's the thing about In-N-Out. They have a secret menu, but they only make like hamburgers, French fries, shakes. That's it. And you can get sodas, but that's
what else do you need?
You don't get anything else. You can get a grilled cheese, I think, but they don't make anything else. They keep it simple, stupid, make it great, make it super fresh. You're going to love it.
Well, I'm looking forward to the one in Lebanon is just about open. So maybe you and me and Dan can get together and have that burger.
Dan is so excited about this.
I know.
Whenever I see him, he's like, dude, it's getting
ever-loving
so
mind
close.
over this.
It's getting so close. I'm like, I know, Dan, I know. Oh, he's going to be so excited.
So what's on tap for your show today?
We're going to talk a little bit of immigration, maybe a little Epstein, a little Colbert. Did you see Hunter Biden losing his mind? Oh, my Lord, it's spectacular. We'll talk a little bit about that. We got some fun stuff as well, as we normally do. Ken and I we go a little sideways. Next thing you know, we're talking about Shark Week and that dude who got swallowed by the MRI.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a tragic thing.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, don't wear metal around an MRI.
No, not like that. He had so much metal on.
Not a good thing.
Nope.
Well, the Chad Benson Show is coming up next on Super Talk 99.7. Thank you so much for letting me sit in here today, Chris Hand. He'll be back here tomorrow for another exciting edition of the Chris Hand Show. And I don't know when I'll be back. I don't have anything scheduled for a few days. So, when somebody needs a day off, you know who they call. And I'll be right there for you. So let me know how it's going. We really appreciate you joining us on the show here today. The Chris Hand Show is over, and the Chad Benson Show is about to begin. Lock and load, everybody. Here we go. Another exciting 3 hours on Super Talk 99.7.